Far-right Israeli finance minister Bezalel Smotrich says shrapnel tore through his son's liver during an attack near the Lebanese border that wounded 8 Israeli soldiers. In a post on X, Smotrich said a mortar round was launched towards the soldiers on the Lebanese border on Friday. "One of them is my beloved son, Benya Hebron," he wrote. The far-right Israeli cabinet member said shrapnel penetrated his back and stomach and he was rushed to hospital. By the grace of God, one of the shrapnel tore through his liver and lodged in the wall of the largest blood vessel in his stomach. If, God forbid, it had been damaged, the situation would have been much worse. According to Smotrich, his son's condition is improving. Benya, thank God, is strong and determined, and with God's help, after rehabilitation and dedicated care, he will recover and return to full strength and the IDF. However, he noted that additional soldiers were also wounded in the incident. Unfortunately, several more of his comrades were seriously injured, and we are all praying for their recovery together with all the brave IDF wounded. Smotrich also addressed his responsibility as a member of the wartime cabinet. He said, "For the past 2.5 years, I have been sitting in the cabinet and in the forums leading the war with awe and trembling, aware that every decision is a matter of life and death." He added that the sense of responsibility extends to all the soldiers, not only to my own children who are on the front lines, but to all our dear soldiers whom I see as my sons. What stands before my eyes at all times is only the good of the state. Concluding his remarks, he wrote, "The costs of war are not simple for any of us, but faith in the justice of our path, victory over our enemies, and the future of the entire people of Israel give us hope and strength. May we be worthy of this generation of heroism and victory. Together, with God's help, with courage, determination, and strength, we will prevail."
Tensions are escalating on the Israel-Lebanon front as intense clashes erupt across eastern Lebanon. The armed group Hezbollah says it has confronted Israeli forces attempting a helicopter landing in Lebanon's border region for the second time. According to the group, the operation targeted the town of Nabi Sheet, where Israeli forces allegedly tried to deploy troops. Hezbollah says Israeli forces launched the operation using around 15 military helicopters that approached from the direction of Syria. The aircraft reportedly flew over several villages along the eastern mountain range, including Janta, Yafufa, Arsal, and Ras Baalbek. Some of the helicopters then deployed infantry units in the Sarbaya plain near the Lebanon-Syria border. Hezbollah fighters say they immediately engaged the helicopters and the infiltrating ground force. According to local media reports, Iran-backed fighters opened fire using what they described as appropriate weapons during the confrontation. A source cited by the Lebanese broadcaster Al Mayadeen claimed that one Israeli helicopter was struck during the clash. Meanwhile, Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported heavy fighting in the mountainous area of Al-Shara near Nabi Sheet. The clashes reportedly broke out after Israeli troops landed on the heights along the eastern mountain range. As the confrontation unfolded, Israeli warplanes and drones were seen flying heavily over the border region near the Lebanon-Syria frontier. Hezbollah says its fighters continued to engage Israeli forces attempting to advance in the rugged terrain. At the same time, the group announced new rocket launches toward northern Israeli settlements. Hezbollah says the launches were part of evacuation warnings issued for areas in northern Israel. These include the cities of Kiryat Shmona and Nahariya. The failed Israeli helicopter landing operation marks the second such attempt reported on March 9th.
Early Monday morning, Hezbollah announced that its fighters had confronted an Israeli helicopter landing attempt in eastern Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, claiming that one of the aircraft was struck during intense clashes near the town of Nabi Sheet. According to a statement released by Hezbollah's military wing, also known as the Islamic Resistance in Lebanon, their fighters detected what they described as a large Israeli airborne operation shortly after midnight local time. At approximately 12:10 a.m. Beirut time, Hezbollah said it observed around 15 Israeli military helicopters approaching the region from the direction of Syria. The aircraft reportedly flew over several villages along Lebanon's eastern mountain range, including Jenta, Yafufa, Nabi Sheet, Arsal, and Ras Baalbek, areas located close to the Syrian-Lebanese border. Hezbollah said several helicopters attempted to deploy Israeli infantry forces in the Surgaya Plain, an area near the border region. According to the group's statement, fighters immediately engaged both the helicopters and the troops that were attempting to advance toward Lebanese territory. Local reports from the Bekaa region indicated that the confrontation quickly escalated into an intense firefight involving anti-aircraft weapons, machine guns, and other battlefield equipment. A correspondent from the Lebanese newsnet Al Mayadin reported that during the engagement, Hezbollah managed to strike one of the Israeli helicopters involved in the operation. However, there has been no independent confirmation from Israeli officials regarding whether any aircraft were damaged or forced to withdraw. Meanwhile, Lebanon's official national news agency reported heavy clashes in the Al-Shara area near the outskirts of Nabi Sheet. According to the agency, Israeli forces had attempted a helicopter landing on high ground along the eastern mountain chain near the Lebanese-Syrian border. The report described ongoing confrontations between Hezbollah fighters and Israeli troops, as well as heavy aerial activity over the region. Israeli warplanes and reconnaissance drones were reportedly flying intensely above the area, apparently providing cover for the Israeli force attempting to advance. This latest confrontation follows another failed infiltration attempt reported just 2 days earlier. On Saturday, Hezbollah said it thwarted a similar Israeli airborne landing operation near the same town of Nabi Sheet. In that earlier incident, Israeli helicopters reportedly attempted to deploy troops in the area, but were met with a prepared ambush by Hezbollah fighters. According to local reports, the ambush triggered heavy fighting involving small arms and medium-caliber weapons. Witnesses in the region also reported hearing the sound of anti-aircraft fire and heavy machine gun bursts echoing through the mountains as the clashes unfolded. Some helicopters were said to have landed on the Syrian side of the border during that operation, while Israeli aircraft carried out what were described as fire belts, intense bombardments around Nabi Sheet to support the military maneuver. Following those airstrikes, Lebanon's Ministry of Health reported casualties in the area. Officials stated that Israeli attacks on Nabi Sheet in the Baalbek district resulted in the deaths of 3 civilians and left at least 16 others wounded. At the same time, fighting has also been reported in southern Lebanon. In the town of Qiyam, Hezbollah fighters from the group's elite Radwan force reportedly engaged Israeli troops attempting to advance into the area. According to regional reports, Hezbollah used explosive devices and Kornet anti-tank guided missiles during the confrontation. Some Israeli media outlets described the situation as very serious, reporting that Israeli forces were facing difficulty extracting special operations units believed to be operating near the conflict zone. If confirmed, these developments would mark one of the most intense cross-border confrontations between Israel and Hezbollah in recent months. The Bekaa Valley has long been considered a strategic region for Hezbollah due to its proximity to the Syrian border and key supply routes. Military analysts say helicopter insertion operations are typically used by special forces to conduct raids, reconnaissance missions, or targeted operations behind enemy lines. However, such missions carry significant risk, particularly in mountainous terrain, where anti-aircraft weapons and ambush tactics can quickly turn an operation into a dangerous confrontation. As of now, neither the Israeli military nor independent international observers have fully verified all details of the reported clashes. But what is clear is that tensions along the Israel-Lebanon front continue to intensify. With ongoing exchanges of fire, aerial operations, and attempted ground incursions, the risk of a broader regional escalation remains a growing concern. For now, the situation in eastern and southern Lebanon remains volatile, with both sides appearing prepared for further confrontation.